Do you know that some owners try to switch their four-legged friends to a plant-based diet? Surprisingly, the question of vegetarian dogs provokes some of the hottest discussions in the dog breeding world. Today, we will dive into this controversial topic and find out whether our furry companions can really do without meat, or if this is a dangerous experiment with their health. Whether you follow a plant-based diet yourself or are simply interested in your pet's health, this information may radically change your perspective on dog nutrition. First, let's remember what dogs are by nature. Despite thousands of years of domestication, our four-legged friends descended from wolves, predators whose diet consists predominantly of meat. However, through evolution and living alongside humans, dogs have adapted and become omnivores. This means they can digest not only animal products, but plant products as well. But does this mean they can completely eliminate meat from their diet? Interesting fact, dogs, unlike cats, have developed genetic mutations through evolution that allow them to better digest starch. Researchers from Uppsala University in Sweden discovered that dogs have between 4 and 30 copies of the gene responsible for producing amylase, an enzyme that breaks down starch. Wolves have far fewer copies. This scientific discovery confirms that dogs are indeed better adapted to digesting plant foods than their wild ancestors. But let's address the main question. Can dogs get all the necessary nutrients from plant foods? The key problem with a vegetarian diet for dogs is ensuring sufficient protein. Dogs require 10 essential amino acids that their bodies cannot synthesize on their own. Traditionally, they get these amino acids from meat. However, modern nutrition science offers plant protein sources such as soy, chickpeas, and lentils, which, when properly combined, can provide all the necessary amino acids. A particularly important amino acid for dogs is taurine. Its deficiency can lead to serious health problems, including dilated cardiomyopathy, a dangerous heart disease. Although dogs, unlike cats, can synthesize taurine from other amino acids, this process is not always efficient, especially in some breeds. Therefore, when composing a vegetarian diet, special attention must be paid to taurine sources or synthetic supplements. What about vitamin B12? This vitamin is almost non-existent in plant foods and is critically important for the nervous system and blood formation. B12 deficiency can lead to anemia and neurological disorders. On a vegetarian diet, dogs need supplements with this vitamin. Think for a moment. Are you ready to take responsibility for such careful control of your pet's diet? Now let's talk about actual research. In 2016, a study was conducted involving 12 dogs that were fed a vegetarian diet for a year. The results showed that with a properly balanced diet, the dogs did not experience nutrient deficiencies. However, it's worth noting that this study was small and more large-scale, long-term observations are needed for more convincing conclusions. There are also several commercial vegetarian dog foods that are designed to meet all nutritional needs. However, the quality of such foods can vary greatly. Some of them really contain all the necessary components, while others may not be sufficiently balanced. Before switching a dog to such food, it's worth carefully studying its composition and consulting with a veterinarian. Speaking of veterinarians, what do specialists think about vegetarian diets for dogs? Opinions are divided. Most veterinarians believe that dogs are best adapted to a mixed diet that includes both animal and plant products. However, some acknowledge that it is theoretically possible to create a complete vegetarian diet if it is carefully balanced and supplemented with necessary additives. But almost all specialists agree that a vegan diet without eggs and dairy products, presents a significantly greater risk to dogs' health. Now let's consider for which dogs a vegetarian diet might actually be indicated. There are dogs with allergies to certain types of animal protein or with rare metabolic disorders who may be recommended a diet with limited meat content or even a vegetarian diet. In such cases, this is not a question of the owner's ethical choice, but a medical necessity. For example, dogs with severe food allergies to beef, chicken, and other common protein sources may respond better to hydrolyzed plant proteins. Interestingly, some dog breeds may adapt better to a plant-based diet than others. For example, dogs that evolved in regions with traditionally plant-based human diets are genetically more predisposed to absorbing starch and other plant components. Such breeds include, for example, the Shiba Inu from Japan, where meat consumption was historically limited. But does this mean they should eat only plant-based food? Hardly. What about puppies? Can a growing organism be fed a vegetarian diet? Most experts are categorically against this. The growth period is a critically important time for the development of all systems in a dog's body. Puppies require large amounts of protein, calcium, phosphorus, and other nutrients that are difficult to provide with plant food alone. The risk of developmental disorders with improper nutrition during this period is extremely high. Let's also talk about the ethical side of the question. Many owners who adhere to vegetarianism for ethical reasons would like their pets to also not consume animal products. This is an understandable desire, but it's important to remember that dogs cannot make a conscious choice in favor of vegetarianism. They rely on us for nutrition, and our responsibility is to provide them with the healthiest and most suitable diet. There is a compromise approach, reducing, rather than completely eliminating, meat from a dog's diet. Many commercial foods already contain a significant proportion of plant ingredients. You can choose foods with environmentally friendly and ethically produced meat or with alternative protein sources, such as insects, which have a much smaller carbon footprint compared to traditional animal husbandry. Now let's talk about practical aspects. If you still decide to try switching your dog to a vegetarian diet, how can you do it safely? First, be sure to consult with a veterinarian who specializes in nutrition. Second, the transition should be gradual to give the dog's digestive system time to adapt. Third, regularly conduct blood tests to ensure there are no nutrient deficiencies. And finally, be prepared to return to regular feeding if you notice any negative changes in your pet's health or behavior. Observe your dog carefully. Signs that the diet may not be suitable include dull coat, excessive shedding, lethargy, digestive problems, loss of muscle mass, or, conversely, excess weight. Remember that each dog is individual, and what suits one may be harmful to another. In conclusion, it can be said that it is theoretically possible to create a vegetarian diet for dogs that will contain all the necessary nutrients. However, in practice, this requires deep knowledge about nutrition, constant monitoring, and possibly additional expenses for specialized foods and supplements. For most dogs, a balanced diet that includes both plant and animal products remains the optimal choice. What do you think about this? Are there any among you who have already tried to switch your pet to a vegetarian diet? Share your experience in the comments. This will help other dog owners who are thinking about this question. If you liked this video and learned something new, don't forget to like it. It really helps the channel grow. Subscribe and click the bell to not miss our future episodes, where we will continue to explore the most interesting and sometimes controversial questions about our four-legged friends. And if you know someone who is also interested in this topic, share this video with them. In the next episode, we will touch on an equally intriguing topic related to dog nutrition, which may turn your understanding of what is actually best to feed your pet upside down. In the meantime, remember, your dog's health is in your hands, and whatever choice you make it consciously and with love for your four-legged friend.